And go ahead and do that and make sure that the court reporter can hear you. Go ahead.
My name is Joshua Lovretta, Joshua. Last name is spelled Lovreta.
All right. This will be position 7. 22 CP 213174 Victor Parada, 113 days without indictment. It's got robbery and simple battery. Mr. Pennington.
Yes, Your Honor.
And don't forget about Ms. Chavez.
Oh, yes.
Interpreting.
Thank you. Thank you for the reminder. Okay, we've got, right. Good morning, Officer Lovretta. Where are you employed? It is officer, correct?
Yes, I'm employed with the Atlanta Police Department.
Okay, and how long have you been employed there?
About 10 years.
Okay, and what are your duties with the Atlanta Police Department? 911
patrol.
Okay, and were you working in that capacity on October 13th, 2022?
Yes.
Were you post-certified on that date?
Yes.
And are you post-certified now?
Yes.
Okay. Did you become aware of a Victor Paredes Peralta on that date?
Yes.
How did you become aware of Victor Paredes Peralta?
A lookout was given over Zone 5 dispatch radio of a robbery suspect. The defendant matched the description, so I stopped and detained him.
Okay. And after you stopped and detained the defendant, what happened next?
I called the officer to my location who took the initial report. We also gathered the victims of the crime to perform a show up.
Did you say victims or victim? Like multiple victims or one victim?
Victims.
Okay. And so what happened after you performed the show up?
Victim Isabel Crum positively ID'd him as the assailant that assaulted her.
And could you describe that assault?
Yeah, she stated that she was walking down the street and a Hispanic male spat on her shoes. When she tried to walk away, he snatched her ponytail, pulled it down, and also grabbed her book bag and snatched her book bag and pulled it down towards the ground.
So he pulled the book bag down towards the ground?
Yes.
Did he pull it off of her?
No.
Okay. And where did that happen?
That incident took place in the area of Spring and 4th, Midtown.
And is that in Fulton County?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And her name again was Isabel Crum, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Did Ms. Crum provide you with any additional information?
Other than that, that was it for that victim.
Okay. And so you mentioned that there were other victims. Could you describe those events?
Yes. On the morning of October 13th, 2022, Officer McCullough was dispatched to an attempted robbery call at 290 17th Street. The victim there was Jamie Rios, who stated at about 7:33 a.m. in front of the Embassy Suites, a Hispanic male wearing a tan jacket, dark shorts, black socks, and a black glove on his right hand walked across the street towards her. That male approached her and began to try to take her phone and her bag from her person. She screamed for help, and the male took off running on foot.
Okay. Did, so what were the items he attempted to take again? Just,
He attempted to take her cell phone and a bag.
okay, thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Painting, Deputy, can you? It's a little cluster down there. Someone else in a truck parked in Besson's spot. They don't know who it is. Now Besson's parked in mine, and now Cooper doesn't know where to park. So can he just get like just somewhere? And Besson doesn't know whose truck that is. So she's in my spot. Thanks. Sorry about that. Thank you. Go ahead.
Did anything else happen while he attempted to take this bag and cell phone from Jamie Rios?
Yes, what I do know is we contacted Atlanta Station Security, who provided a still shot picture of the suspect a minute later after the attack. That picture was then disseminated amongst 911 patrol officers. And that's how I was able to detain him and stop him for suspicions of being the person who committed the attempted robbery.
Okay. And Ms. Rios, was she able to provide a description as well?
Yes, she was.
Okay. And did the description she provided match the description, match the photo that you saw?
Yes.
Okay. And when you apprehended Victor Paredes Peralta, did the person you apprehended match that description as well?
Yes.
Okay. And was Mr. Paredes Peralta still wearing the same clothes at the time you arrested him? Or not arrested, but apprehended him?
He had the same shoes on. He had layers of clothes on him. So yes, I believe what he had was, he had dark shorts, but he had about 7 layers of shirts. So he had the layers, the one that was in the picture, he had it wrapped around his waist at the moment of detainment.
Okay. And did you mention that he had a glove on previously, I thought?
Yes, he did. He'd had a black glove on.
Okay. And so did he have that on at this?
I apologize, one moment.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Did he have a glove on when you arrested him or apprehended him?
Yes.
Did he also have that same glove on during the assault of Ms. Rios?
Yes, according to her description of him, yes.
Okay.
A black glove on his right hand.
Okay. And this location, 297 17th Street, is that in Fulton County?
Yes.
Okay. Do you see Victor Paredes Peralta in court today? You can stand up if you need to.
Yes, I see him.
Could you please identify him for the court?
Yes, he's standing to my left. He's wearing a blue top and gray sleeves, blue top, gray sleeves.
Standing or sitting?
Oh, sitting.
Thank you.
I was standing. Sorry.
Thank you, Your Honor. Let the court note for the record that the witness in this case has identified the defendant, Victor Paredes Peralta.
Noted.
Okay. No further questions for this witness, subject to redirect.
Okay, Cross?
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning, was Officer Lovretta?
Yes.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Attorney Lang. I represent Mr. Paredes Peralta. I'm going to ask you some questions on his behalf, and then also follow up on some of the questions you were asked on direct. To start very quickly, the subject of the robbery was what? What was the item that was stolen?
Okay, items. It was an attempted robbery. And what was attempted to be taken was a cell phone and a bag,
Okay.
according to the victim.
But neither the cell phone nor the bag left the possession of Miss Rios?
Nope.
Okay. The descriptions you were given, you mentioned, so let's start from the top. Did they describe from the neck up his facial appearance, his ethnicity, his hair coloration, anything to that effect?
The victim described the suspect as a Latin male, about 5'11", medium build, black hair, carrying a black backpack on his back.
Okay. What clothing was described?
Dark shorts, a black glove in his right hand, and a light colored shirt.
And I believe you said on direct, that clothing was on Mr. Paredes Peralta with the exception of, I guess, the shirt you said was tied around his waist when you met with him?
Yes.
Okay.
We also were able to get Atlantic Station security cameras to get a snapshot of the suspect leaving the area a minute after the attack.
Okay. When you viewed that footage, did you memorialize it on your body worn camera? Do you remember?
That footage, that snapshot was disseminated or dispersed amongst us via cell phone.
Okay. So somewhere a record of that photograph exists.
Should be, yes, sir.
Okay. Did you or any other officer on scene speak to Mr. Paredes Peralta when he was being detained or when he was in custody?
I asked him, did he have some identification?
Okay. Was he able to communicate with you?
He was not coherent.
Okay. Did you have any inclination as to why he was not coherent? Did he appear to be under the substance of some form of narcotic? Was he maybe suffering a mental health episode? Anything that you noticed with your training as an officer?
It's a lot. Yeah, he wasn't coherent. I'm not gonna say I can diagnose him right then and there. I did notice he was speaking Spanish and I couldn't understand what he was saying.
Understood.
Yeah.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Redirect.
No further questions for this witness. May this witness be excused.
Anything else for him?
Nothing else, Your Honor.
Stay safe, officer. Thank you.
I went.
Good job.
All right.
You're hired.
Yes. Thank you. Do you have a contact number if I need them?
Argument.
Your Honor, the only argument from the defense is based on the statement that neither of the subjects of the theft were actually removed from the person of the victim. We would ask Your Honor to downgrade that charge to attempted robbery. We'll submit on the simple battery.
Thank you very much. Your Honor, the state will just respond to that the matter of whether it was an attempted robbery, this can be charged as robbery. This can even be indicted as robbery, and that whether it's proof of whether it's an attempt is a matter for trial.
Then, Your Honor, if in that being the response from the state, then I'll ask the court to dismiss the robbery because the robbery statute specifically states that property must be taken from the person of another. And we specifically heard from the officer that this property was not taken from.
Sorry. I misspoke here. Your Honor, this is an attempt. I got this confused with party to a crime. That's just a mistake on my part.
That's okay. All right. Yeah, we'll make that attempted robbery. I find probable cause on attempted robbery and simple battery. And bond was addressed on, I believe, the 24th, so
That's
we won't have
correct,
to
Your Honor.
address bond again on this case. And we'll move to position 8.
Correct.
Your Honor, can I have one moment to speak with Mr.
Yes.
Paredes Peralta about that case before we move
Sure,
to 8?
go ahead. Come on.
So the only thing that changed here is you were being charged with robbery. Now it's an attempted robbery. Nothing was actually taken from her, so
So
that will probably change bond in the future.
Mhm.
is it Officer Underwood or detective or?
Her bond, she said she's not.
Okay.
ready to get to that.
Detective Reese. Yeah, I'd gotten a message before that Reese is on the way. I'm like, who's Reese?
Yeah.
So, in the warrant system.
Okay,
All set, Your Honor.
Okay.
I gotcha. Okay, thank you. Okay, it's great. You can go ahead and,
All right, this one is position 8. It's 22 CP 213209. Victor Perez Peralta, 113 days without indictment, simple battery, criminal attempt to commit a felony, and simple battery. Bond was also addressed on the 24th, I believe, on this case. You want to raise your right hand? You swear or affirm testimony you're about to give is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth. All right, if you sit down, state your name, spell it, and Madam Interpreter, you're still under oath.
My name is Kayla Underwood Reese, and that is KaylaUnderwoodReese.
okay. Detective Reese, good morning.
Good morning.
Where are you employed?
Georgia Tech Police Department,
And how long have you been employed there?
9 years.
What are your duties with the Georgia Tech Police Department?
I'm a detective for our Criminal Investigations Division, and I also handle the crime scenes.
Okay. And were you employed in that capacity in October, or were you working in that capacity on October 13th and 14th of 2022?
Yes, sir.
Were you post-certified on those dates?
Yes, sir.
Did you become aware of a Victor Paredes Peralta then?
Yes, sir.
How did you become aware of him?
At around 9 a.m. to 9:15 a.m. on the 13th, we got a call from a student by the name of McKenna Croft, Croft, stating that she was assaulted by a Hispanic male wearing a yellow hoodie. And the way that he assaulted her was she was running near the intersection of 10th Street Northwest and Hemp Hill Northwest. And he approaches her, grabs her shoulders, and then tries to take her cell phone out of her hand. And she's holding on and pulling away, telling him to stop. He does, and runs east down 10th Street away from the victim.
Okay. Was he able to take the phone?
No.
Okay. And so after he ran away, did Ms. Croft report this? How did you learn of it?
Yes, she contacted DTPD, and where this incident occurred is right in front of the police department. But she called because she ran to her dorm room, which is on the opposite side of the police department. And that's where she called us, and we met with her. Detective Sherwood, Sherwood, is the detective who interviewed her about this incident.
Okay. And did you learn any additional information from her?
No, sir.
Okay. And so what happened next in your, well, let me just ask one quick question before we move on. The location of this incident, is that in Fulton County?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so what happened next in your investigation?
Minutes later, we received another phone call from a Georgia Tech student by the name of, let me make sure I pronounce this correctly. It is, sorry, that's paperwork. It is Nina, Nina, Plotko, Plotko. We received a phone call from her minutes after this incident of describing the same male walking past her going west on 10th Street near the intersection of State Street Northwest. And this, she described that the male attempted, I want to make sure I'm not confusing. Sorry. Okay, the offendant tried to smack her cell phone out of her hands.
Okay,
He did not get her phone and he continued west on 10th Street.
okay. You say he attempted to smack the cell phone out of her hands. Did he strike her?
No. No, it does not. She did not state that he actually made contact with her.
Okay. Okay. I just, do you have a copy of the warrants in this
Yes,
case?
and let me correct that. He did hit her arm and hand instead of the cell phone. That is my apologies.
Okay, thank you. So you said he ran off after this. And is that when Ms. Plotko reported this to the Georgia Tech Police Department?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you learn any additional information from her?
Not from her.
Okay. So what happened next in your investigation?
With the assistance of our digital intelligence unit, they do a lot of our intel. They work the cameras that we have. We have over 3,000 cameras on campus. We also have different software such as Clearview, which is a facial recognition software. And we also have access, each student has a student ID like this. And anytime they use it to enter into a building or apartment, we have access to those log histories. So with our digital intelligence analyst, Mark Spiden, Spiden, he reviewed more camera footage following the defendant or Victor, I cannot pronounce his last name, but Mr. Victor, at the intersection of 10th Street Northwest and Fowler Street Northwest. He did the same thing. This time he actually spit on another victim, but she declined prosecution. And another victim who did press charges, but he spit on them. And then after spitting on them, he continued away from them going towards what we call Tech Square. It's 5th Street, Spring Street area in Midtown Atlanta.
Okay. And so you had video of him.
Yes.
Did you have video of the, so let me just back up. The incident that happened with Nina Plotko, is that location in Fulton County?
Yes.
So for that incident and for the incident with McKenna Croft, did you have video of the actual incident?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And were you able to identify, how were you able to identify Victor Paredes Peralta?
So all this happened at around like 9 to 9:20. It wasn't until about after 11:30, APD was out with Mr. Victor at the Wells Fargo off of Tech Parkway Northwest. And
Can you please repeat the last part, officer?
yes, APD, Atlanta Police Department officers detained Mr. Victor at the Wells Fargo Bank located on Tech Parkway Northwest, which is right next to Georgia Tech campus. And Detective Huggins, Huggins, with his victim, which was Miss Fulton, Rachel Fulton, Fulton. That's, they went over to Wells Fargo to do a show up. And it was positively identified Mr. Victor. And based on that positive ID and comparing the suspect in those videos, it matched Mr. Victor.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. And do you see Victor Paredes Peralta in court today? You can stand if you need to.
Yes, sir.
Could you please identify him for the court?
Yes, sir. He is the Hispanic male sitting with the blue top, sitting next to the Hispanic female and the white male with long hair.
Let the court note for the record that the witness in this case has identified the defendant, Victor Paredes Peralta.
Noted.
No further questions for this witness, subject to redirect.
Cross, Mr. Lang?
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning, Detective Underwood Reese.
Good morning.
My name is Attorney Lang. I represent Mr. Paredes Peralta in this case. I'm just going to ask you some questions and follow up on some of the questions ADA Pennington asked you. To start with the actual incident with Miss Nina Plotko, did she state, so I understand what she told you is that it appeared he was attempting to strike her phone out of her hand, correct?
Correct.
Did she state whether when she was struck, it was a separate act, or while he was going for the phone, he kind of inadvertently made contact with her?
So based on how she described it was when he was attempting to smack the phone and she moved to get close, that's when he struck her arm and hand.
Okay. More specifically, did she say, was he striking her hand as an attempt to like kind of get her to give him the phone, or was it he was going for the phone, she moved, he missed and hit her?
Based on that, yes. Yes.
The second one being he missed
yes,
and kind of hit her?
Second.
Okay. Okay. And then, so that's Miss Plotko. And then we also have Miss Croft, correct?
Yes, sir.
There, she stated that Mr. Paredes Peralta attempted to grab her phone, like grab and actually remove her phone from her person.
Correct.
He was not successful in doing so, correct?
Correct.
Did either Ms. Croft or Ms. Plotko attend one of the show-ups with you?
It was not, no. Croft attended the show up.
Okay. At any point were they given a photographic lineup or anything of that effect? Have either of them to this date identified Mr. Paredes Peralta?
I will have to go back and check with the detective. I do not believe so.
Okay.
No. No.
One moment, Your Honor. The surveillance footage that you viewed that had an individual who you've now identified as Mr. Paredes Peralta on it, do you know if that footage has been preserved in an evidence system?
It has been preserved, and this morning it was actually getting submitted into evidence.
Perfect. Did you and any of the other detectives or officers who responded on the scene have body worn cameras on your
Yes,
person?
sir. Only the patrol officers. The patrol officers that was involved for us that will have body cam is Sergeant Malcolm Nicholas, Nicholas, Officer Serge Lambott, Lambotte, and Officer Zachary Hurst, Hurst. And with Officer Hurst, he is no longer employed with us. He works for Troy, Alabama now.
Okay.
But his body cam should still be available.
Okay. So those three officers would have had body worn cameras on and activated.
Correct.
So somewhere, at least from some officers' point of view, there is body worn camera of the arrest.
Yes.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor. May this witness be excused.
Mr. Lang, yes, thank you. Stay safe out there. Detective.
Thank you.
Argument?
Your Honor, we will submit on the criminal attempt to commit a felony and the simple battery pertaining to Miss McKenna Croft. I am, however, going to ask the court not to find probable cause on the simple battery for Miss Nina Plotko. The simple battery statute requires that it be intentional contact, and the testimony we heard today was that it seemed to be inadvertent contact while attempting to strike the phone.
Your Honor, if the defendant is trying to swat the phone out of someone's hands, he's going to have to strike her. So there's an intentional conduct there. Your Honor, but as an alternative, the state would request that we could change this charge to criminal attempt to commit a felony,
So
because this is an attempted robbery.
So you got 2 criminal attempts and 1 simple battery?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll find probable cause on, so 2 criminal attempts, 1 simple battery, and we'll find no probable cause on the other simple battery.
That's right.
Got that, Ms. Hollenbeck? I guess we would need to address bond on the other criminal attempt,
You
right?
can probably hold off for now.
Okay.
Ms. Bray, we'll address it later. We're
Okay.
gonna also have to look into the issues we were speaking about earlier.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
we'll,
and just tell her she can submit an ex parte order if she needs to.
yeah, so we'll get to work on that.
Thank you, Detective. Stay safe.
Hi, Judge Manning.
Yes, ma'am.
So no, I didn't get that. Also, I need the code section for attempted robbery from the first case.
We can just do criminal attempt to commit a felony, 1641.
1641.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. And yeah, just, we want to address bond on that one since, Mr. Lane covered for Ms. Bray.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Do you know which case we have left?
We have 2 officers here. So the officer that was here first is for Garland, Antoine Garland. The other officer here is here for Martin Williams.
Did anybody work overnight? All right, then bring it.
And I think Miss Collins is handling Garland. So
Oh, yeah.
And she's still upstairs, but I'm handling Williams, so
Okay.
I can get that done now.
Okay, we'll go ahead. Yes,
Yeah, let's do Williams.
thank you, Ms. Chavez.
Oh, and Your Honor, excuse me, what is Ms. Chavez's first name, please?
Patricia.
Patricia.
Patricia, thank you very much, Ms. Chavez. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Chavez.
See you.
So we're doing position 6.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, are you on?
Officer Gikanga, we're going to go with this. We're still waiting on the attorney.
Thank you, Deputy. Judge Besson was.
Yes, yes.
Nice enough, but don't want to make Judge Besson angry. Ever. Hey, doing officer, raise your right hand for me. You swear firm testimony you're about to give is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth. All right, if you have a seat, you can sit down, state and spell your name for the court reporter, and we'll start as soon as Mr. Williams gets out.
All right, my name is Officer James Gikanga, first name James, last name Gikanga, Gikanga.
All right, when Mr. Miller gets out here, Williams, excuse me, we'll start. You need a second, Mr. Lang, or are you good?
Just so I can tell them what's going on.
Okay.
Mr. Williams, right? I'm trying to get the judge to dismiss your case. Is bring officers over there right now. Who's one of the officers was involved? I'm gonna get the last person first. All set, Your Honor.
All right, this is 22 CP 213160, Martin A. Williams, 114 days without indictment, burglary in the 2nd degree and theft by taking misdemeanor. As of October the 13th, he has a $2,500 split bond, so we'll address bond after we do the prelim. Go ahead, Mr. Pennington.
Yes, good morning. Is it Officer Gikanga?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where are you employed?
City of Atlanta Police Department,
How long have you been employed there?
since 2016 to about 6 years.
Okay.
Oh, if you don't mind, make sure you keep your voice up so that court reporter, you see right there on the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so she can hear you. So keep an eye on her.
All right. Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
And what are your duties with the Atlanta Police Department?
I'm currently assigned to the Zone 2 Crime Suppression Unit.
Okay. And were you working in that capacity in October of 2022?
I was assigned to the traffic unit at that time.
Okay. And were you post-certified during October of 2022?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Did you become aware of Martin Williams in October of 2022?
Yes, sir, I did.
How did you become aware of Martin Williams?
I was preparing for my night shift for that night, and I spoke with the evening watch supervisor who advised me about a burglary on Roxborough Road,
And what night, just clarify, which night was that?
October 11th.
Okay. And you said Roxbury Road. What, did you have an address that you responded to for a burglary?
The evening watch units responded to 2883 West Roxborough.
Okay. And is that in Fulton County?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. So, so after you learned of this, what did you do next?
They were able to provide me with a photo of the suspect from the burglary. He had distinctive clothing, and I proceeded with my patrol for that day. I went to the same area because it was believed that the suspect was possibly still in that area. As I was driving on West Roxborough and Roxborough, I saw a male matching the description, wearing a white squad hoodie, Under Armour, a gray backpack, and I believe it was white and gray Charles Barkley shoes.
Okay.
Stopped. I detained the subject. Confirmed it was a suspect that I was shown in the previous bolo. I Mirandized the subject. He chose to exercise his rights to remain silent.
Okay. And then what happened next?
After that, I conducted a search incident to arrest based on the bolo that I was given and the clothing that I observed on the suspect. He had a white squad hoodie, a white matte fill graphic t-shirt, black Under Armour sweatpants, the gray and white Charles Barkley shoes, the gray New Era backpack, a 8-pack of Body Under Armour drinks, a gold G-Shock, and a black New Hatton hat. All those items were reported stolen from the burglary that happened prior to my shift.
Okay.
He was transported to the precinct and where I swore out the warrants.
Okay. And who were those items? Who did those items belong to?
They belong to Mr. Jones, Julio Jones.
Julio Jones. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And had Mr. Jones reported them stolen or someone else?
No, so the original caller was the property manager and the victim's brother, because the victim doesn't live at the house. He just owns it. He uses basically storage at the time.
Okay.
And they had received calls prior to that day on October 7th about suspicious activity at the household. They were able to review footage and saw the accused in the household. They went there and confronted him. They found him with the victim's clothing on at the time. They chose to escort him off the property and tell him not to return. And then subsequently on October 11th, they received other phone calls from the neighbors stating that there was more suspicious activity and people coming out of the house. They showed up to the resident, confronted him. The accused also had more of the victim's clothing on at that time. They tried to keep him there while they called 911, but the suspect was able to leave. And then when the evening watch units arrived, they took the report.
So this was on the same day that you apprehended Mr. Williams, correct?
I apprehended him the second time they came to the residence and confronted him.
Right. So did you say the second time when he was at the residence and he was confronted by the property manager and the victim's brother, correct?
Yes, sir.
That he was confronted on the same day that you apprehended him?
Yes, it was.
You just apprehended him later that same day, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. And this location that he was at, was he inside of it?
Both times they did find the suspect inside the household.
Okay. And you say household, was this this building, was it a house?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So it was a place where people would, it was a residence that someone would reside, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And did the property manager and the brother you talked to indicate that this that Mr. Williams was not authorized to be there?
Well, I never spoke to the property manager or the brother,
Okay,
but they did express that to the responding units that
Okay.
evening.
okay, thank you. And what was did you have an approximate value for the stolen items that you found?
I got the price for the shoes and the Under Armour and the G-Shock watch.
Okay, and what
The
were the,
total came out to about $900.
okay, thank you.
And then I wasn't able to get prices for the other items. Some of them were like the hoodie and the T-shirts. I believe those were something that they were made for the victim. So they weren't sold yet on the market. So they didn't have a price tag at the time.
Okay. And were there other items reported stolen? Other than those that were found on the defendant, Mr. Williams?
So when the responding units were on scene, they were told there was I believe $30,000 to $40,000 worth of items that were unaccounted for, that were in the residence, but I didn't find any of those items on the suspect that night.
Okay, thank you. You said that this defendant, so on October 11th, this defendant, Martin Williams, was confronted by the property manager and the victim's brother. Do you know what, there was a prior time where they did the same thing, correct?
Yes, sir.
That's what you
I
just-
believe it was October 7th.
Okay. And at that time, did they advise the defendant, Martin Williams, that he was not authorized to be at that location?
Yes, they told him he wasn't allowed to come back to the property and escorted him from the residence.
Okay.
But the police were not called on that initial incident.
Okay, thank you. And so when you found Mr. Williams, what did you, how were you able to ID that it was Mr. Williams?
So I was shown a photo that was taken by the property manager and the brother who were on scene the day when they confronted him. And the suspect had the same clothing on at the time, which belonged to the victim.
Okay,
That's how I was able to identify him.
okay. And okay, thank you. Was there any further I guess maybe was there a show up or any kind of photo lineup conducted in this case?
No, sir.
Okay. But you were able to identify him from surveillance video, is that correct?
It was a cell phone picture that they took that
Okay,
day. And
okay,
those were attached to the incident report.
okay, thank you. Okay, do you see Martin Williams in court today? You can stand up if you need to.
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, could you please identify him for the court?
He is sitting to the left of me in the white and got a white and blue shirt. Oh, I think it's gray. Dark blue, I believe.
You can stand up.
So, yes, ma'am. It was right there.
Okay,
Right there. You
Right.
gotta,
Oh, I'm sorry. Sitting down next to the
just
attorney.
describe if you don't mind.
Black male. He's got short hair, got a beard.
Thank you.
thank you. Let the court note for the record that the witness in this case has identified the defendant, Martin Williams.
Noted.
The state has no further questions for this witness, subject to redirect.
Cross.
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning. Was it Officer Giganka?
Gakanga.
Gikanga.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Officer Gikanga, my name is Stephen Lang. I'm an attorney with the Fulton County Public Defender's Office. I represent Mr. Williams. I'm going to ask you some questions and follow up on some of the questions you were asked on direct. To start, the photographs and video footage that you were shown, do you know, have copies of those photographs and video footage been preserved for evidence?
Yes, yes, sir. They're attached to, well, they're uploaded to evidence.com.
Okay. I think I heard you mention at some point that the two reporting parties, the brother and the property manager, stated that there were people coming in and out, meaning multiple people coming in and out of the home?
Yes, I believe they described it was either food delivery, something like that.
Okay. So do we mean people coming in and out as in one isolated person here and there, or as though there were a party being hosted on the property and there were 10, 15, 20 people coming in and out?
I don't know specifically.
Okay.
They just stated it looked like the person was receiving food deliveries at the residence.
Okay. Were you the officer who physically arrested Mr. Williams?
Yes, I was.
Was he Mirandized after your arrest?
Yes, he was.
Did he make any statements to you after that Miranda?
He refused to make any statements, but he did spontaneously utter statements while in custody.
Okay. Were the brother in this case, did he live in the residence?
No, sir.
Did the property manager live in the residence?
No, sir.
So the only lawful occupant of the home would be Mr. Julio Jones, correct?
He's the only, I don't believe he lives there. I just know he owns it.
Right. So I mean, so currently the house was unoccupied. Nobody was living there.
At the time, no, sir.
And the owner of the house is Mr. Julio Jones.
Yes, sir.
Have you or any other officer with APD spoken to Mr. Jones about this incident specifically?
I have not. I don't know whether or not the burglary unit reached out to him.
Okay. Did the brother or property manager indicate to you or any other officer whether they had spoken with Mr. Julio Jones about this incident?
I was told at the time they did speak with him.
Okay. And did they indicate whether, I guess, Mr. Jones had perhaps spoken with Mr. Williams and given him authorization to be within the building?
No. So the property manager was in charge of who was allowed was in charge of the property, and she stated that he was not allowed to be there. I don't know whether or not they had a conversation with the victim.
But so the owner of the home, Mr. Julio Jones, if he gave someone access to the home, that would trump the property manager, correct, as the owner of the home?
Yes, sir.
And do you have any information about Mr. Julio Jones had not given Mr. Williams permission to be on the property?
No, sir. Just what the property manager told us.
Did either the brother, I believe it was Philip Jones, or the property manager indicate to you whether Mr. Julio Jones had given Mr. Williams any of the property he was wearing, any of the clothing or shoes or any of those items?
No, sir. I believe they told the responding officers on scene that specifically the white hoodie that was made, but it was given to the victim himself and no one else yet because it wasn't released.
Okay. One moment, Your Honor.
Meaning it was the only one out there to be had? Is that what you were saying?
Are you talking about
Yeah, the shirt, you said it's the only one.
Yes, from my understanding, it was exclusively made for him, so it wasn't being mass produced or sold anywhere.
Okay.
No further questions at this time, Your Honor. Ready for argument?
Redirect.
Yes, just one quick question. You said that the defendant made some spontaneous utterances. What were those?
While in custody, the suspect did utter that the only property at the time of the arrest that belonged to him was a phone and the watch and snacks.
Okay. No further questions for this witness from.
Anything else?
No redirect, Your Honor.
All right. Thanks, sir. Stay safe, officer.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Argument.
Yes, Your Honor. Go ahead, sir.
Your Honor, the state submits on the evidence. However, the state would request that the burglary charge be upgraded to first-degree burglary.
Thank you. All right, go ahead.
Your Honor, at this time, I'm going to be asking the court to dismiss the burglary charge in this case. Burglary requires that the individual in the home enter with no authorization. We've heard from two individuals who are not the lawful owners of the home about the issue of authorization. We have not heard from the actual victim. The officer is not able to tell us that the victim was contacted and said, I did not give this person permission to be in my home. So we don't have the unauthorized element here. We don't know if Mr. Williams was authorized to be in that home. It's very possible that he was given authorization and the brother and the property manager had simply not been notified. And we do not have information to the contrary. So for that reason, I'll be asking the court to dismiss for lack of probable cause. With regards to the state's request to upgrade to burglary in the first degree, please give me 1 second to read that statute again. I don't have it committed to memory. We would not have a response to that because second degree says not a dwelling, and this was alleged to be a dwelling.
Okay. Mr. Pennington?
Yes, Your Honor. There was a property manager and a brother there that had the access to the cameras of the residents, and by very nature of a property manager would have authorization to know whether who was able to be at the place, whether the owner himself had some other wish as a matter for a later hearing or for trial. At this point, there's probable cause to believe that there is no authorization for this defendant to have been in the building.
Okay, it is still theft by taking misdemeanor?
Yes, Your Honor. Based on the amounts that were testified here today, this is a misdemeanor. This may be upgraded later on once more information is apparently tens of thousands of dollars of items are missing from the residents, but the only items that we know of that have been connected to the defendant so far are these items.
Okay, I'll find probable cause on theft by taking misdemeanor and burglary in the first degree. The $2,500 split bond there was the misdemeanor, I think, had a bond on it. It's pulling up. I think this was supposed to be on the night, so I guess we could go ahead and handle it. Is that okay? I think it's supposed to be on tonight.
Supposed to be on the 28th.
Oh, yeah, then we will, definitely, because I will take it off my calendar.
The state has no objection to handling bond.
All right, yeah, so it'll be, there's a $2,500 split bond. There's no bond on burglary. Now it's burglary in the first degree. 114 days without indictment. Pre-trial. Oh, you're on mute, Miss Mann.
I'm sorry. Okay. Yes, Your Honor. We have, for the state of Georgia, there are 3 prior cycles, not including the case that's before you today. It is a multi-state offender in Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Louisiana. The 922, there's a failure to appear. GCIC, NCIC does not have a disposition for that. 822, there's a theft by shoplifting with obstruction of law enforcement officers, given false name and address. GCIC, NCIC does not have a disposition on that. And on 522, there's a theft by shoplifting that does not have a disposition on it as well from GCIC. When we move to Tennessee, there is a 9/20/21 theft of property. That case was dismissed, Your Honor. It was a like item. In Kentucky, there were 8 prior cycles, Your Honor. And just looking, Your Honor, just to see if they had any that was had a conviction to it. It did not, but I'm going to give you an 11/15, which is terroristic threats, 3rd degree. That case is still open under GCIC, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
And there's only 1 cycle for LA. No further.
thank you.
Yeah, and I would just add, I have looked at the disposition, the NCIC related to Kentucky, and I don't show any dispositions in Kentucky, so it may be a matter of that it's just not reflecting the disposition. So I just wanted to know that there was an arrest in 2008 for burglary in first degree.
Okay,
The disposition may or may not be, may not be reflected. It's not a conviction. It's just that there could be, because the way NCIC is showing, there are no dispositions for 8 cycles.
okay,
Correct.
okay. All right, go ahead.
Sure, Mr. Williams is,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm
Anything
sorry, I
else?
was just letting him know. I said it is a 2008 and he is correct. It is not showing a disposition.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Lang.
Mr. Williams is 32 years old. He turned 32 in the Fulton County Jail. He is a high school graduate and also completed some college at Western Kentucky University. At the time of his arrest, he was unemployed. He is hoping to gain employment upon his release. His residency currently is in Bowling Green, Kentucky. The address on his booking report is the correct and good address for him. He would be returning to that address were he able to receive a bond. Looking at the information we have, this is a nonviolent offense. I understand that, theft is not a victimless crime, but this is at least a nonviolent offense. Based on the information presented and his criminal history, I'm going to be asking the court to set a $2,500 good bond on the burglary charge and consider lowering the theft by taking misdemeanor charge or leaving it where it is for a total bond of $5,000.
Okay. Mr. Pennington?
Yes, Your Honor. The state would just request a reasonable bond in the discretion of the court. However, the state would, given the nature of the charge and the fact that the defendant may actually have had 2 burglaries here, that he went back to the same residence again after being requested to leave, the state would request that a curfew and ankle monitor be in place on this. I know that he's going to be out of state, so that is an issue for that.
They work.
Yeah, they can monitor people out of
Okay.
state.
The state would also request to stay out of Fulton County.
Stealing my thunder. Go ahead, Mr. Lang.
Your Honor, we would have no issue with that. We would just ask that the county be paying for the ankle monitor as opposed to Mr. Williams. And then also, I'm not sure how this is done. I want to be very clear on that at the beginning. I know we have 2 options for monitors now. We have the ankle worn and the wrist worn.
I think there is right now. I don't think they have a vendor contract yet. So that's why I told Mr. Cho that people want to pay for it. So,
Okay,
yeah.
then never mind.
They're still trying to get it. Yeah. 'Cause I
Yeah.
think that's going to be a much better option for.
Yeah,
for
but
some-
then if we can't do that right now, then we'll just do ankle and then we'll maybe try to get swapped over to one of those in the future.
Okay. All right. All right, sir. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no further contact with Julio Jones. That means 200 yards. That means you can't go to his football game. Who does he play for now?
Think
Wait.
he's still in Tennessee?
That's the last I knew, but I don't.
That's who he plays for?
Is it Tampa
Oh.
now? Well, don't go down to Tampa.
Yeah, don't go to Tampa. So you can't go to a Tampa Bay Buccaneers football game because you'd probably be within 200 yards of Mr. Jones. You're going to have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical. You have other charges of court in other states or anything of that nature. And also you want employment.
Yes, Your Honor. Like I said, he's going to be looking for employment, but I'll at least make it so we can get to job interviews.
All right. So employment, as long as you provide the name of your employer, proof of employment, schedule, and the exact location you'll be working. Sir, you have to supply that to the ankle monitoring company and to your lawyer, Mr. Cazzoli, who Mr. Lang's filling in for today, so they can supply it to the state. You violate that, they'll revoke your bond and you'll sit in Rice Street with no bond until trial. Stay out of Fulton County. The only reason you're going to come back to Fulton County is court or to see your lawyer. But I'm also going to add you stay out of the state of Georgia, except you're here for court or to see your lawyer. So as soon as you get out, you get that ankle monitor slapped on, you get a ride back to Bowling Green, and you stay there till you have court. But you must return to the state of Georgia. I'll go ahead and leave the theft by taking at the misdemeanor at the $2,500 bond. $20,000 good bond on the burglary. Stay away from 2883 West Walkboro Road, which is in Fulton County, so you shouldn't have a problem with that. Once again, you can't go to any of the football games for whatever that's worth. Best of luck to you, sir.
Yeah. So, Your Honor, the officer that's currently present here is for a case being handled by Ms.
Collins, yeah.
And Your Honor, I did receive a text from Ms. Collins during that last preliminary hearing. She's actively doing a rape prelim in front of Judge Drake right now.
Oh, okay.
So she may be a moment. Those
Okay.
generally go long.
Yeah.
And if we take a brief recess, I'm going to make a couple calls.
Okay,
about
all
the other
right. Well,
officers.
stand down for a second. I'm just gonna, I'll stop the stream, Ms. Hollenbeck, until we get Ms. Collins down here.
Okay, no problem.
Dear God, parking drama.